That was the Scuba Diver in the Tree, one of my favorite urban legends. It's just so completely insane. And I'm now joined by the director, Mike Gallant. Mike, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so there was big discussion about this episode, and a lot of people told me it was unfilmable or too crazy, or how are you going to pull this off? And of course, the answer is I don't have to. The director has to. But I fought so hard for this episode because it's one of those urban legends I just wanted to see rendered. Tell me about what excites you about it, and what's your approach? Like, how are you going to pull this off?
So I'm actually in agreement with you in terms of the excitement around the scuba diver myth. As soon as I was told that's what we were doing, I was very excited because we would make it a lot more about the scuba diver himself, and we put our own spin on it, whereas, okay, he didn't die from the fall. He's actually in the forest, in the fire, and he's using his own oxygen tank, which makes sense, obviously, being a scuba diver, to keep himself alive for as long as possible. When I saw that we were taking that approach to it, I got really excited because this sort of became a survival story. But overall, I just find that the scuba diver myth itself is just a really, really great urban legend. Is it true? Did it really happen? Did it not happen? Could it happen?
Yeah, it's well, the best urban legends live in that zone where it's so absurd. And you think, well, that could happen. That is a freak accidents happen.
Yeah.
The scuba dive, what I liked about the episode is that anytime you have kind of the velociraptor in the kitchen or something completely out of context in the wrong place, it's instantly unsettling. If you're in a forest fire, the oxygen tank, if it doesn't explode, is the thing that's going to save your life. But now you've got to walk around in this wetsuit. And what do you do if it's burned and sticking to your skin?
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally a contained horror film. What I love about this episode, and this story in particular, is that it falls in that category of pure cinema. No dialogue, just camera work. There's no talking. It's all like and in this case, it'll be some kinetic, visceral cinema. Talk about that kind of approach where you're shooting a scene that, you know, other than the father and the daughter, there's not a lot of dialogue.
Yeah, so you have to definitely get a very strong performer. That's directing 101, I guess you would say. And fortunately, we have someone really great, Nick Smith, who's carrying this whole thing sort of on his shoulders. I told him, I was like, this is going to be rough. This is going to be hard. You're going to get your ass kicked for about 4 days.
And he's in a scuba suit.
Yes, on top of that.
I mean, I went outside in a T-shirt in 100 degrees and I was hot. Being in a scuba suit, you know, walking and doing the shot of someone with flippers.
Right.
It's such an absurd image. And I think that the best urban legends weirdly have an element of absurdity to them.
Right.
You're like, that's so crazy. How could that ever happen? But it did happen because someone you know knew someone who knew someone that swore that it happened.
That's the thing about this myth. I would say even more so than all the other ones, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is that everyone swears this has happened. You know, California or France were these big locations. It happened in the 80s. Somebody swears by it.
Planning a shoot like this, how much is practical fire? What can you do with a flame bar? What are you doing with LED screens? What's CGI? How do you break that down in your head? And as a director, what do you like to use?
Right. Well, in terms of the locations that they're very fickle about just how much we're able to bring fire into it, understandably, in the middle of the summer. So we're using a lot of visual effects to portray the fire itself, but we are using a lot of smoke machines, and our great DOP has flickering LEDs that, not just LEDs, but bigger lights than that we're sort of lining our whole forest set with, so that it's constantly flickering on the scuba diver as he's going. And we're having a lot of conversations and, you know, finding the best angles and everything to utilize and just make it as believable as humanly possible. I was going through a lot of different films for references for this. And obviously nowadays they play it a lot more safe and a lot of CG fire, which is completely understandable. But when, you think about stuff that performers such as yourself go through, because you had to deal with Tarantino's wall of fire.
While you were shooting Inglourious Bastards.
And we almost died.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Not on purpose, but
Of course.
the fire got much closer. They had done like a bunch of tests, but they never tested the fire with the flags.
But
and the
even
seats.
on camera, when you see how close you are to that wall of fire, it makes you unnerved.
I had no frame of reference for what that level of pain was, because they said, oh, it won't get closer than 20 feet, and it was right up over us, and I couldn't gel my hands.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
So
You didn't
my
have the
hands were so
protection.
burned, and
Right.
I passed out after it. They said it was multiplying. You see a swastika fall in the film. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Oh,
the steel
okay.
liquefied. It was 2,000 degrees. They said that in another 30 seconds, the structure we were on would have collapsed. So, Mike, tell us just a bit about, for people that aren't familiar with your work and that are going to see this episode for the first time, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you started, what you're doing, other work of yours that they could see, where they can find your stuff.
So I've actually worked a lot as an editor. So I've edited a lot of feature films and many horror films, actually. So that's sort of how I got into the whole thing.
How did all those years of editing prepare you for directing?
I think literally editing is probably one of the best ways to learn how to direct personally. Even writing too, because you see all the mistakes and then you see how you have to fix it. You know immediately if you're shooting something, all right, that's not going to make the cut. That's not going to work. We don't have the reverse of that. I need to transition from this scene to this scene.
As an editor now directing, do you pre-edit a scene before you go shoot it? Do you like play it in your head going, I need that, or are you doing that while you're cutting?
I believe when I sort of make my shot list initially, that's sort of where my head is at. When I'm on set, I try and just sort of live more in the moment and just make sure that the performances are getting out. Like, I really care a lot about performances.
So where can people follow you to check
Yeah,
out
so
more work?
I'm on Instagram, Helix Reel, Reelent. I'm very, very easily Googleable.
Awesome.
Easy to find on Google.
Well, no, I want people to watch this and check you out and follow you and see your other works. I think your
Appreciate that.
stuff
Thank
is really fantastic.